Hello and welcome to today's video. My name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns, I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn, which you can find on my website YarnAddict.co.uk. You can find links to everything I'm going to talk about below this video. So today I'm going to talk about Knitting Magazine issue 238 and specifically my design in that issue. But before we start, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're a new viewer, please consider subscribing. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for coming back. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and if you don't want to miss a video, please click the notification bell. At the moment it is December and I'm doing Vlogmas. I'm posting videos quite regularly. This won't be a Vlogmas video as such, but it will be posted in December. But mostly at the moment I'm doing Vlogmas, but when it's not December, I normally post videos every Thursday and occasionally on Tuesdays, and I post a mixture of podcast episodes, tutorials, yarn and product reviews, and knit and chat videos where I talk about different topics. Today I'm going to talk about this garment from Knitting Magazine, and then I'm also going to tell you what I think about the yarn. So I hope you enjoy today's video. This is the cover of Knitting Magazine issue 238, which is in the shops in the UK now. At the time of filming this, it's been in the shops for, I think, about 6 days, 5 or 6 days, I think. That is the pattern, that's the photograph from the magazine. Gorgeous photographs. So this is the All Aglow sweater from Knitting Magazine. It is, as you can see, sleeveless. It is worked in the round to the underarms, and then so there's no side seam here, and then it's worked back and forth to the shoulders. It has dropped shoulders, and then stitches are picked up around the neckline for the collar. The yarn is Manos del Uruguay silk blend, which is a blend of merino and silk. Manos del Uruguay is a company that's based in Uruguay, of course. It is a fair trade company. They provide work for women in rural areas, and they dye the yarn. I'm not sure they spin it as well, but they dye the yarn. The yarn is hand dyed, and it is absolutely amazing. I first discovered Manos del Uruguay silk blend when I first started designing. I think the first sweater I had published in a magazine was actually using Manos del Uruguay silk blend. So I have been a fan of silk blend for a long time, and for many years I used it quite regularly for magazine designs. And then the yarn company, they used to distribute Manos del Uruguay in the UK, asked me to design for them, so I designed for them using the Manos yarns plus their own yarn as well. And then in 2016 they unfortunately went out of business, and Manos del Uruguay just kind of fell off my radar till last year when I kind of rediscovered it again and realized that it was still around, and I now stock some Manos yarns on my website. I have a little bit of silk blend at the moment, but only not a lot. I've used it in my recent cow, the Delightful Cow, which I published recently, and I'm using it in another cow at the moment. So it is a yarn I really like. It is a single ply yarn, so that means that the yarn is just one single strand that's twisted together. It has enough twist in it to kind of hold it together, but it doesn't have a lot of twist. So if you're making something that needs to be sewn up, you need to be careful when you're sewing up, because the yarn can twist a bit and break quite easily. It's not a problem when you're knitting, and once you've knitted it, that obviously adds strength to it as well, so that's fine. But it can be a bit tricky to do sewing up with, especially mattress stitch, because when you're sewing up you actually untwist the yarn, and with a yarn that doesn't have a lot of twists in it, that can be a little bit tricky. It is a hand-dyed yarn, so there are a lot of variations in colour, and you can't be guaranteed that two skeins will match exactly because of the fact that they are hand-dyed. There will always be a bit of variation. If you want to, you can alternate skeins. I don't think my knitter did this. I didn't ask her to alternate skeins, so she may have done it, but I'm not sure. I don't think she did. This was knitted by my sample knitter, except for the collar, which I knitted. So this sweater is knitted from the bottom up in the round. It has a single colour brioche rib at the bottom. If you haven't done brioche before, single colour brioche rib is fairly easy. If you haven't done brioche before and you are a bit intimidated by that, you can just do a normal knit one, purl one rib. It will pull it in a bit more. Brioche rib tends to spread out a bit more, whereas the knit one, purl one rib will pull in a bit more, but that is an alternative if you want to. When you get to the underarms, you divide for front and back, and then front and back is worked separately. And you also, after you finish a shaping for the armhole, there's a little bit of shaping for the armhole here. Once you finish the shaping, you then start working the brioche rib on the back and the front. And then when you get to the shoulders, you join the shoulders using a 3-needle cast off. After I joined the shoulders, I picked up stitches around the armhole, and I just did 2 rows, or 2 rounds rather, just to make that look a bit neater. And then the stitches for the front and the back of the neck were all on hold, so I picked up those, and I picked up some stitches around the sides, and then I knitted the brioche collar so that it flows seamlessly from the brioche rib that's on the front and the back of the sweater. So when you start knitting the collar, you just want to check that it's flowing seamlessly, and if you need to make adjustments, make adjustments. It is sleeveless. It's merino and silks. It's quite a warm yarn, and it's a DK weight, so I thought sleeveless was quite good. It's quite good extra layer to put on top of any long sleeve t-shirts or blouses or shirts, for example. I think depending on what color you choose, I think this can be a unisex sweater. It's not designed to be unisex, but I do think it works as a unisex sweater. And I really wish this was in my size, which is not, but I wish it was in my size because I would really like to wear it. It's designed to be slightly loose fitting. This dress form, this wicker dress form I'm using, is not perfect for showing garments because it is very hourglass figure, so it looks quite loose on this one, but it is designed to be slightly loose fitting but not huge. Do check your measurements before you choose which size to knit, and then use that to help you choose which size to knit. So this is a fairly quick and easy knit, I would say. A lot of stocking stitch in the round. This is knitted in the color Libra from Manos del Uruguay silk blend. They do quite a range of colors. Most of them are semi-solid or slightly variegated. This one is a sweater that does work quite well with a variegated color because of the fact that it's a lot of stocking stitch, and the rib is fairly simple. It doesn't have an intricate pattern you need to worry about. When you have more intricate patterns, sometimes variegated colors can be a bit too busy and you kind of lose the patterns. I think this one, if you want to use a variegated color, this is quite good. If you are, I've never had silk blend kind of pool and do funny things, but if you are worried about it pooling, or if you have 2 skeins that don't match exactly in dye lots, because they're hand dyed, I don't even know whether they do dye lots, because when you hand dye yarn, each skein can be quite different. Like this, it depends on when it goes into the dye bath. You know, if it goes in the first batch or the last batch, that can have an effect on the colour. So if you have got skeins that look like they vary a little bit, then what I recommend is that you do 1 round in each colour or each skein. So if you pick out 2 skeins, and when you're knitting in the round, you can just do 1 round in each colour. You can look up something called helical knitting. That's a good way of alternating skeins. I'm not going to go into it now, but you can find tutorials on YouTube quite easily. And when you get to the section where you're knitting back and forth, you would do 2 rows in each colour. I don't think my sample knitter did that for this, but that is one way of dealing with skeins that are a bit inconsistent in colour. But I haven't had that problem with silk blend, I don't think. I'm just trying to think back to all the times I've used silk blend, and I've knitted a lot of sweaters in silk blend. It is a really nice yarn. The silk blend is a really nice yarn. I've knitted a lot of sweaters using this yarn. It is really nice to knit with. It gives you a very even stitch definition. So I don't know how easy it is to see this. So this has not been blocked, if you like. So when it was finished, I just gave it like a quick steam press. That means I just like moved my iron over the fabric, not touching the fabric, but just close to the fabric, just pressing the seam button just to smooth out any edges and things, but it hasn't been aggressively blocked or anything. So these stitches are that even because the yarn makes them that even. The yarn is gorgeous, and it gives you really neat, even stitch definition, and it's very soft and very luxurious. And I really wish this was in my size. If I had time, I would knit it for myself. I've always wanted to knit a sweater in silk blend, and I've never done it, and I may have to change that in 2023. Anyway, that is my design for issue 238 of Knitting Magazine, which is in the shops in the UK now. If you don't live in the UK, I will link their website below. You might be able to buy it where you are. You might be able to get a digital version. I don't know if they do a digital version or not. I will link the website below, and then you can have a look there. Talking specifically about the yarn, if I wasn't going to knit a sweater with the yarn, I think it's really good for accessories. Like I said, my delightful cowl is knitted in this yarn. I'm knitting another brioche cowl in this yarn at the moment. I think it's suitable for brioche, obviously. Lace knitting, cables, knit and purl stitches, texture, colour work. It is a really, really nice yarn to knit with, and I've used it for a variety of different stitch patterns over the years. It's very good for garments and accessories. I would be careful with accessories like hand warmers and gloves and mittens that are more high friction areas, because I think they maybe could get worn out quicker. I also had lots and lots of skeins of silk blend left over from when I used to design a lot for the previous distributor, and quite a few years ago I made a crochet blanket. I started it quite a few years ago, and I finished it. I think I finished it at the start of the pandemic, in the first lockdown. So I have a crochet blanket in this yarn, which is very luxurious. I would say it's too luxurious for a blanket, unless you have a lot of money, but I happen to have a lot of skeins in my stash that I used for this blanket, because they're all different colours. So I used it for this blanket, and it is very luxurious. It has ended up on my sofa, and it is mostly used by my dog, which is such a shame because it's a beautiful blanket. But so it's suitable for a lot of things, including crochet. I definitely will use this again in the future. In fact, I'm knitting with it at the moment, another brioche cowl. So it is a yarn I highly, highly recommend. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching.